Hi everybody, I'm Randall Hardy and I thought I'd bring you a very quick update following the recent Children's Wellbeing and Schools Bill report stage that should have got to the clauses to do with home education, but for various reasons didn't. And I've got some slides prepared and I'll be talking to them, so let me share them with you. Well, I hope very much you can see those. I've put the date there so you know when I'm recording this, whenever you watch it. It's really for last Wednesday, the 21st. We'll be looking at and looking forward to next Wednesday, the 28th. So what happened? Well, you don't get to know exactly how much the Lords will be debating on a bill till the morning, and the Government Whip's office produces today's list perhaps an hour before the session starts. So on Wednesdays, they usually start about 3 o'clock. It can change. And if you're wanting to watch for it, the website address is there at the bottom. And as you see, I'm looking all the way through this one at the 21st of January. And I'm working on what was on that sheet. Now, by next week, there may be some changes to the amendments. So this isn't 100% sure, but it's to give you an idea. We move on. Last Wednesday, we got fairly soon down that sheet, that today's list, to the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Bill, day 3 of 5. Whether it'll have to go up to 6 sessions, seeing they took so much time over other things on Wednesday, we don't know. But I want to highlight this bit. You see, it takes them several days, and we don't know till the morning when this thing is published how far they're going to been told they ought to get through in the day. And this was the group beginning with Amendment 127. What does that mean? Well, at the bottom of this screenshot, you'll see there's 2 lines of numbers, and I've just put a circle around the number 90 in the first line. So that is the group beginning with Amendment 90. And we needed to read down to the one beginning with Amendment 127 to see how far they'd be getting in the bill. You have to reference over the documents as well, but I'm trying to keep this short. What I do want to point out that the second group, the one beginning with 91, was about a social media ban for under 16s, which is currently the hot potato in politics and young people. And if you were watching it, you would have seen that during this debate on all these amendments here, the House was more full than usual, and a lot of peers had a lot of things to say. And in fact, that affected what happened for the rest of the day. You see, when peers start, they start talking and they have to have a break at some point. That's to eat, to take a time out of the chamber, but to let other business go on. And last Wednesday, they had a debate on considering comments, reasons why the Commons had rejected some amendments or made other amendments to the Holocaust Memorial Bill. And that was due to start around 7:30. In fact, Pearce talked so much about social media for the under 16s and banning it that the dinner break didn't start till 8:35, and it lasted till 10 to 10. And that really threw what they could do with the rest of the day. The longer start in getting there, and the fact that the Holocaust Memorial Bill took nearer 80 minutes than they hoped for 40 to 50 minutes. So when they came back, this is what they were going to cover, or should have covered by the end of the day, but because that's the target group. The last group, the one beginning 127, is where they were trying to get to. but that was never going to happen given the delay. So that's actually as far as they reached on last Wednesday evening. They got to amendment beginning with 102. We'll come on to what's going to happen next in a minute, but that gives you a picture of how far they fell short. Relevant to you and to me is that it's group G120 and group 127 that are to do with the children not in school registers. And we see that here because this is where they're going to be starting, and I've changed the colour of the subheading to show we're now looking forward to the 28th of January, which is the next sitting, and they'll be starting with group 107, which is about child poverty targets, and group 114, which will be about school uniforms. And peers understand school uniforms. So I expect that one, even if the first debate isn't very long, the second one on that group of amendments will be longer. But then there are 4 large groups there. And I want to go into more detail about those because every one of those is to do with CNiS registers. So here we are. Here's the list. And the first thing to say is 2 of the groups start with a G, a small g, before the amendment number. They will still be called Amendment 120, but that is to tell peers those are the ones that have been tabled by the government. And as we know, Baroness Smith, about 2.5 weeks ago, tabled a whole load of amendments to this bill. 38 of them were to do with the proposed registers of children not in school, and most of them here. So I'm going to leave those white, but I'm going to colour in some of the others as we go along. Now, the first set I've coloured in are those tabled by Baroness Barron, the Conservative spokesperson, ex-minister who was trying to steer the ill-fated schools bill in 2022 through the House. It never made it out of it. Into it, Baroness Barron has added various amendments, and relevant here are some of hers, coloured in orange. If you've spotted that just less than a week ago, she put in some late amendments. I'm fairly sure those are 121A, 121B, 131A. So those are the ones she's tabling, and she will get to speak first on them, and then other peers might come in. Now, I've just added in a few light green ones. They're a bit hard to see, but I hope you can see them. On the very top line, 122, 124, 125A, and on the very bottom line, 160. And those that have been tabled by Lord Crisp, who is supportive of home educators and is helpful. And so you may be interested, particularly in listening what goes on when those are debated. I'm simply working through this list as peers appear in it. So the next group I've coloured quite a lot of. These, there's amendments by Lord Way in every group. Now, I must point out here, you don't get 10 minutes to speak to each of your amendments. In each of these groups, Lord Way has got lots of amendments down, but he will only get 10 minutes to speak to them all. He may get a chance to come back to the minister after she's summed up, but basically he will get 10 minutes in each group to put forward his arguments. So do watch out for Lord Way and his amendments if you are watching it on the... Baroness Benjamin is the next person as we work through this list. She has, in the second group, she has the First Amendment and 2 after. Her interests are children who are involved in the performing arts, and her amendments cover that area. I shall move on, therefore. We're now looking at amendments by Lord Hacking, which I've coloured in brighter yellow. He starts, all is actually are in the third group, 134A, and 3 later on. And Lord Hacking is supportive of a register, but wants to mitigate against the worst effects of what's happening. So that is what he will be arguing for. So that's very simple what to expect them to be debating. And unless something major happens, I expect this all to be happening next Wednesday on the 28th. So let's just give you some targets. Remember, we said the first two are about other topics, and then we'll get on to those there that I've boxed in red, which are the ones I've just been looking at. They will start the debate. The debate in the chamber, the business of the chamber, begins about 3 o'clock, and there are 4 questions, 10 minutes each, which means they should start around 3:45. Now, last week they had the questions, then there was a statement which took up or something that took up another 10 to 15 minutes, and they actually started about 4 o'clock. But if you're settling down to watch this, you don't need to be on Parliament TV till around 20 to 4 in the afternoon. That's when it will start. As last week, there'll be a timetable dinner break around 7:30 when the peers interested in the Children's Not in School bill will leave the chamber. Some other business will be conducted, and they usually say they'll come back about an hour after they break. That's the expected time, but as we saw last week, that took longer. 40 minutes, though, is usually what they're aiming at for the intervening business, and that allows for some change over time. We don't know yet how far they'll expect to get through this, through the amendments on Wednesday till the list is published about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But we can expect they will keep going until 10, somewhere between 10 and 11 p.m., unless they reach that target first. I don't know. I don't think it's worth us discussing where they go, but my final point is this. This is the amendments that will be following on, and I've just left the overlapping government amendments that have already been debated there. I want to draw your attention to this one, 175A, because after the Children Not in School section of the bill, there is one on independent educational institutions. And that will affect many home educators, because I know many of you use small learning communities, very informal settings that support your home education, and they are going to be required to register not as schools, but as IEIs with Ofsted, and will be inspected and will be part of the provision is they will have to share data about your children with the local authority and so on. And I really hoped that members of that community who run these things would have got a lot of debating going on. But to date, as of last Wednesday, there was only one amendment tabled there, and it's been pushed into another group. It has been tabled by the Bishop of Manchester. It's to clause 37, which, as I said, is relevant to independent educational institutions. And he's been very supportive of the Jewish community, and he's got an amendment that seeks to mitigate the effect of these clauses on them. But there needed to be lots more, and I hope somewhere along the line there will be some more there. So basically, that will be one extra to watch out for when they've finished the Children Not in School things. All the rest of the amendments on that page are for clause 40 or beyond. I'll lose interest at that point mainly. I hope that brief summary of what to expect in this coming week and how to understand what happened last week has been helpful, and I'll get this posted up as soon as possible. I shall find a way of sharing the graphic of the coloured amendments with you so you could have that to hand and so you know what's happening. if you are watching live Wednesday.